You probably heard the news and thought it was just another headline. But Ninjaman getting a life sentence is bigger than anyone expected. This is the Jamaican dancehall legend known for his wild energy on stage, clever rhymes, and a career that both thrilled and terrified fans. But behind the music and the fame, something dark was brewing, and it finally caught up with him. Today we are breaking down why Ninjaman was actually sentenced to life in prison, and trust me, it is bad. By the end, you will see why this case shocked fans and the industry. Ninjaman's rise to fame. So, let's rewind the tape and look at how Ninjaman, born Desmond John Ballantyne, rose from a kid in Annotto Bay to one of Jamaica's most notorious dancehall figures. Yes, we'll talk hits, style, and how his reputation went from, "Hey, that's spicy," to, "Oh, that's intense." Desmond was born on January 24th, 1966, in Annotto Bay, St. Mary, Jamaica. At around age 12, he moved to Kingston, a city bursting with musical energy and opportunity. As a young teen, he joined the Black Culture sound system under the name Double Ugly. He wasn't playing small time though. Early exposure to Kingston sound system culture gave him a front row seat to the rapid rise of dancehall. By 1980, he was associated with the famed Kilimanjaro sound system, an institution in its own right. You'll notice Kilimanjaro sounds mighty epic. It helped sharpen his stage presence. Over time, his moniker evolved, Ugly Man, then Ninjaman. Why Ninjaman? The name change captured part of his shift. He'd be sneaky in lyrics, bold in voice, sharp in style, a rude boy image with flair. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Ninjaman began dropping tracks that people heard in cars, at dance halls, and on the radio. His lyrical style was bold, often referencing gang culture, guns, and street life, but dressed in the rhythm and swagger of dancehall. Some hits from that era include songs like Murder Dem, Permit to Bury, and Test the High Power. This wasn't quiet music for mellow evenings. This was loud, confrontational, and sure to get your attention. He didn't just sing about being a bad boy, of course. He performed that image. Fans saw someone posturing, powerful, daring. His style included flashy outfits, unapologetic lyrics, and a stage energy that made folks say, "Who is this guy?" Meanwhile, critics said his lyrics were too violent. Rivalries added to the spectacle. One noted clash was with Shabba Ranks, a big name in dancehall too. The back and forth between them gave Ninjaman even more spotlight. So, what did his rise mean? For one, he helped shape what dancehall looked and sounded like in the 1990s. Raw, street-savvy, unpolished in a way that connected hard. His influence is seen in younger artists who followed, both in Jamaica and abroad. He wasn't just another artist, he was the persona many talked about when they referred to dancehall's fearless side. You've seen how Desmond went from a Kingston teenager to a dominant figure in dancehall, riding a wave of hits, image, and controversy. He created an identity that was hard to ignore, and it sets the stage for what came next. Legal trouble, scandal, and a fall from grace. Early legal troubles. Let's talk about how the music and fame of the legendary DJ Ninjaman started to collide with the law. You'll see that his legal issues gave early warning signs that the story was going to get messy. Ninjaman, whose real name is Desmond John Ballantyne, first launched himself from the streets of Annotto Bay into the spotlight. But by the late 1990s, the spotlight was showing cracks. His violent rude boy image and his lyrics and stage persona began to catch up with him. According to records, by the late 1990s, he was already facing charges tied to firearms. His public image switched from bad boy with rhythm to bad boy with legal problems. One clear incident. In 1999, he was arrested for possession of a firearm and ammunition. The legal record shows he served a short prison term for that. This might sound minor compared with what would come later, but it marked a turning point, a top performer now facing real consequences. When you're on stage singing about guns and guns show up in court, the vibe changes. Then came the larger case. In March 2009, Ninjaman and his son were arrested and charged in connection with the murder of a man named Ricardo "Ricky Trooper" Johnson in Kingston. The allegation is that after a prior dispute, Ninjaman, his son, and others returned with weapons, chased Johnson, shots were fired, and Johnson died. The detail: prosecutors say there was a domestic altercation the day before, and the next day the group returned. The sense is that things escalated beyond words into deadly action. While awaiting trial, the case dragged on. Bail was granted in 2012. Many trials don't begin on time, but this one stretched over years. One reason? Jury issues. Only 15 jurors showed up, though 58 were needed. What it says to you and me is, the legal system was slow-rolling a case that had serious stakes. Meanwhile, the accused remained something of a public figure. What makes this section important for your viewers is the way the early troubles framed the final sentence. The firearm possession case wasn't just random, it showed a pattern. Then the murder charge took that pattern into the extreme. You'll want to show your audience how, once an artist crosses that line between stage persona and real-world violence, the reckoning begins. Also, public perception shifted. Fans started asking, is this performer reflecting life or participating in it? The industry started to distance itself. The music that once elevated him now carried a double edge. He wasn't just singing about badness, he was alleged to be part of it. That shift matters because it contextualizes why a life sentence would not come out of nowhere. In your stand-up or video, you can drop a line like, when you're rhyming about gunfire and then the court fires back with charges, you know the playlist changed. Audiences love that kind of truth with a little humor. Wrapping up this section, Ninjaman's early legal troubles showed both the escalation and the warning signs. From gun possession to a murder charge, the transition was clear. Next section, we'll fully cover the case that shocked fans, the murder trial itself. So hold on, because that one changes the game. The case that shocked fans. Alright, here's where things take a sharp left turn. You've seen how Ninjaman rose to huge fame and then bumped into legal trouble. Now we're zooming in on the case that really stunned fans, the one that changed everything. It all centers on March 16, 2009, in Kingston, Jamaica. At that time, Ninjaman and others were involved in what seemed like a routine dispute at a residence in Olympic Gardens. The victim, Ricardo Johnson, sometimes known as Ricky Trooper. Witnesses say Johnson was sweeping his yard with a friend when things escalated. According to testimony, a car pulled up with 3 men aboard, a confrontation followed, and the men left, but returned shortly after. On the return, the same car reportedly came back with Ninjaman alongside his son and another man. They entered the yard area, and the situation hit a boiling point. One witness testified that Ninjaman fired a gun. Johnson tried to flee, heard shots, and collapsed. The prosecution laid out that Ninjaman and his co-accused had a common design, meaning they acted together. Now, imagine you're the viewer, a dancehall legend you recognize from the radio, flashing on stage, now listed in the court records, and the shock factor is heavy. The trial dragged on for years. In fact, the case had 17 missed trial dates and 23 mentions before it kicked off in earnest. That kind of delay adds tension not just in court, but in public opinion. People start asking, what's going on? During the trial, the prosecution presented 7 witnesses who placed Ninjaman at the scene and tied his actions to the fatal shot. One of the key pieces, the idea that Ninjaman didn't just happen upon the scene, he was in the car with intent. The defense tried to argue otherwise, but faced challenges. What does the common design concept mean? It means that even if one person did the shooting, the law treats the group as responsible if they acted together with the same goal. That dramatically increased the severity of the case. For you and your audience, this is a big moment. This is where performance persona and alleged real-life violence meet. Another shocker, the man facing trial was a major star. The idea that the person who pumped out hit after hit was now the accused in a murder trial blew up in the media. Fans were left rethinking what they heard in the music. Was it lyrical fiction or real-world foreshadowing? The trial forced that question into the spotlight. Here's a line you might use in your bid. He used to spit rhymes about clashes and guns in mega venues, but this time, the clash showed up at his front yard, and the mic was replaced by handcuffs. Audiences love that kind of sharp alignment between stage persona and real consequences. By the end of the trial phase, the jury had heard it all. Witness testimonies, forensic details, and the back and forth of defense and prosecution. When the verdict dropped on November 20th, 2017, the verdict was guilty. Ninjaman, his son, and his co-accused were found guilty of murder. Trial highlights. By the time Ninjaman's trial began, the public was glued to every headline. Here was a man known for commanding stages and dropping hit after hit, now in the courtroom, facing life-altering consequences. The tension was not just legal, it was cultural. Fans and critics alike were watching closely, wondering how a dancehall legend could become a convicted murderer. The trial itself stretched over several years, partly because of multiple delays and issues with jury selection. In fact, the initial trial collapsed because only 15 jurors showed up when 58 were needed. That's a lot of empty seats and a lot of suspense building outside the courthouse. Eventually, a new trial was set, and this time, it moved forward. From the start, the case carried intense scrutiny. People wanted to know if Ninjaman's stage persona had crossed into reality. When the trial finally began, the prosecution presented a strong case. Witnesses testified that Ninjaman and his co-accused were at the scene and played an active role in the events that led to Ricardo Johnson's death. One witness described how the group returned to the yard after a prior dispute and confronted the victim. The court heard about the alleged plan, showing that this was not an accident or a spontaneous altercation. The term common design was crucial in the case. It meant that even if Ninjaman did not pull the trigger, he could be held responsible because he acted as part of the group carrying out the plan. For viewers, this legal concept highlights how collaboration in crime can carry the same weight as direct action. During cross-examinations, defense attorneys worked hard to challenge witnesses and question credibility. They argued that Ninjaman was being unfairly targeted because of his celebrity status and controversial lyrics. However, the prosecution emphasized the consistency of testimonies and the weight of forensic evidence. Each day in court added more layers to the story. The planning, the confrontation, and the aftermath were all laid out in detail. The drama of the courtroom was amplified by the fact that the trial was heavily covered in the media. Fans, journalists, and local commentators followed every hearing. You could almost picture someone tweeting, "Wait, that's Ninjaman? On trial for murder? No way." That mixture of disbelief and fascination kept the story alive in the public consciousness. What stands out in this part of the case is how the trial shifted public perception. Ninjaman's music, which had glorified the rough and tumble aspects of life in Kingston, now became a lens through which people questioned the line between performance and reality. He had built a persona of danger and intensity on stage, and the courtroom tested whether that persona existed purely in entertainment or had real-world consequences. By the end of this trial phase, the evidence, witness accounts, and legal arguments set the stage for a serious sentence. The jury had a clear picture of what happened, and the legal framework made the potential outcome very real. Fans had to reconcile the image of a fearless entertainer with the reality of a convicted criminal. The life sentence explained. Now comes the part everyone was waiting for: why the court handed Ninjaman a life sentence. After years of delays, witness testimony, and media attention, the judge delivered a decision that left fans, the industry, and the public stunned. The sentencing came on November 20th, 2017. The judge outlined the severity of the crime and emphasized that the murder was not a random act of violence. According to the court, Ninjaman and his co-accused had planned and executed the attack, which resulted in the death of Ricardo Johnson. The common design principle was key. Even if Ninjaman did not fire the fatal shot, the law treats all involved as equally responsible when acting together with a shared criminal intent. This meant the court could impose a life sentence, and they did. The judge also noted aggravating factors. Ninjaman's prior criminal record played a role. Previous arrests for firearms and violent incidents indicated a pattern. The court considered the planning and premeditation involved in the crime. It was not a heat-of-the-moment situation. Witnesses described how the confrontation escalated after a prior dispute, making the case more serious in the eyes of the law. For viewers, this shows that courts weigh history and intent heavily in sentencing decisions. Public perception played an indirect role. While the court does not make decisions based on fan opinion, Ninjaman's celebrity status had created a spotlight. The media had followed his career, his legal issues, and the trial extensively. That scrutiny meant that the case was examined with added pressure, though the judgment focused entirely on evidence and law. The life sentence sent a clear message. Violence, even by someone famous or influential, carries consequences. The court wanted to make it clear that fame does not exempt anyone from responsibility. It also served as a warning that using influence or reputation to intimidate or orchestrate violence could result in maximum penalties. For those watching, it is a reminder that criminal actions have real-world consequences, and celebrity does not provide immunity. For Ninjaman's fans, the verdict was shocking. Many struggled to reconcile the image of a fearless dancehall star with that of a convicted murderer. Some defended him, claiming his lyrics were just artistic expression. Others acknowledged that the law had to treat the act seriously. This divide highlighted the tension between persona and reality, entertainment and responsibility. The sentence also included his co-accused and his son. All received life imprisonment, reinforcing that the legal system holds each participant accountable when acting together in a planned crime. The court made it clear that a life sentence was appropriate given the combination of premeditation, violent outcome, and prior criminal behavior. In short, Ninjaman's life sentence was not arbitrary. It was based on legal principles, evidence, prior behavior, and the seriousness of the murder. The verdict shocked fans but illustrated that the law evaluates actions, not reputation. This is why the case became a pivotal moment in Jamaican legal and cultural history, showing that even a celebrated entertainer is accountable under the law. Public and industry reaction. When the news of Ninjaman's life sentence hit, fans in the music industry were in shock. This was a man whose name dominated dancehall charts, a performer who had once been larger than life on stage, now facing the reality of a life behind bars. The reaction was immediate, loud, and often emotional. Fans were split. Some couldn't believe it. Social media lit up with messages expressing disbelief, sadness, and anger. "How can Ninjaman be in jail for life?" became a common refrain. Others felt justice was served. They pointed to the severity of the crime, the premeditation, and the victim's life lost. The polarizing responses showed just how closely fans connected Ninjaman's stage persona with the real-life consequences of his actions. The music industry also felt the impact. Promoters, fellow artists, and radio hosts reacted in public statements. Some expressed disappointment that a legendary performer would end up convicted, while others distanced themselves from him, concerned about the potential influence of his actions on younger audiences. Collaborations that might have seemed natural before became impossible, and the conversation in the industry turned from admiration for his talent to reflection on responsibility. Even seasoned dancehall stars commented. Some criticized him for letting his lifestyle interfere with his career. Others mourned the loss of a friend and artist, emphasizing the complicated nature of celebrity and personal choice. This mixture of public mourning, criticism, and concern for safety underscored a larger cultural question. How does society separate the art from the artist when their real-life actions are violent? Social media also had its moments. Memes, reactions, and debates flooded Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Some poked fun at the irony of a performer who often sang about guns and crime, now facing the harshest consequences. Others highlighted the tragedy, emphasizing the loss of potential and talent that could have continued to influence Jamaican music. The conversation blended humor, outrage, and reflection, creating a complex dialogue among fans worldwide. For Jamaican audiences, the case hit even harder. Ninjaman had been a fixture in the local music scene for decades, representing a specific era of dancehall culture. His arrest and conviction were more than just celebrity news. They were a cultural moment, a turning point for the genre and the public's perception of it. The life sentence wasn't just legal, it was symbolic. It showed that actions, regardless of fame, carry consequences. In retrospect, the reaction highlights how celebrity status can amplify both praise and criticism. Ninjaman's fall from grace became a cautionary tale. The public, once thrilled by his persona, now wrestled with the reality of crime and punishment. For industry professionals, it was a reminder that personal choices can override talent, and no one is untouchable, no matter how influential. Fans, critics, and the music world had to reconcile the duality. The artist they admired versus the individual convicted of a serious crime. That tension remains part of Ninjaman's legacy and shows how intertwined public perception and legal outcomes can be. Ninjaman behind bars. After the life sentence was handed down, Ninjaman's world changed completely. The stage lights, adoring fans, and dancehall energy were replaced by the stark reality of prison life. For someone who thrived on attention and performance, adapting to life behind bars was a whole new challenge. Reports from local news and interviews with associates suggest that prison life has forced Ninjaman into a much quieter existence. Daily routines, strict schedules, and limited freedom are worlds apart from the fast-paced life of a touring performer. It is a reality check for anyone used to commanding crowds, and for Ninjaman, it meant learning how to survive in a system where reputation alone does not protect you. Inside prison, he is reportedly maintaining a low profile. Sources indicate he has limited access to media and no longer engages publicly with fans. This is a far cry from his days on stage where he thrived on controversy and attention. The contrast is stark, from commanding thousands to blending into the background of a controlled environment. It highlights the reality of consequences, even for a celebrity. Family and friends have played a role during this time, visiting when possible and offering support. While the visits are restricted and the communication limited, maintaining these connections appears to be crucial for him. It helps anchor a life that has been completely disrupted by legal outcomes. At the same time, his co-accused and son also face life sentences, so the entire family unit has had to adapt to new circumstances. For the music industry, his absence has been noticeable. Ninjaman was once a central figure in dancehall, influencing trends and younger artists. With him behind bars, the genre shifted, giving space for other artists to rise and change the sound of Jamaican music. Some fans have continued to celebrate his earlier work, while others debate whether his music should be separated from his criminal actions. The conversation underscores the complicated relationship between art and personal behavior. Speculation about parole occasionally surfaces in news outlets, but the reality is that a life sentence in Jamaica is a serious term, and parole is not guaranteed. The sentence reflects the gravity of the crime and the court's intent to make accountability clear. Fans, commentators, and legal observers continue to discuss the long-term impact of this sentence, both for Ninjaman personally and for Jamaican society as a whole. Interestingly, prison has also offered Ninjaman an opportunity for reflection. Reports suggest he is engaging in some spiritual and personal growth practices, including mentoring younger inmates. Whether this is a genuine transformation or a coping mechanism, it provides a glimpse into how someone with a highly public life adapts when stripped of freedom. Ultimately, Ninjaman behind bars is a cautionary tale. It demonstrates the consequences of criminal actions, no matter how influential or celebrated a person may be. The transition from dancehall legend to convicted life-sentenced inmate is dramatic, and it continues to spark discussion in both the music industry and public discourse. Why this case matters. Now we get to the heart of the matter. Why Ninjaman was actually sentenced to life in prison, and why it is bad. The short answer is that the court found not only evidence of murder, but also a deliberate pattern of violence that tied directly to Ninjaman's prior behavior and public persona. The law viewed this as more than a single incident. It was part of a documented pattern, and that pattern tipped the scales toward the harshest sentence possible. The legal reasoning is rooted in the principle of common design. Even if Ninjaman did not fire the fatal shot himself, he actively participated in planning and executing the act. Witnesses testified that he was present, organized, and involved in the escalation that led to Ricardo Johnson's death. The court considered intent, planning, and prior criminal activity, all of which painted a picture of a repeat offender. His previous arrests for firearms and violent incidents weren't isolated. They formed a pattern that suggested he was likely to continue dangerous behavior if not strictly punished. This is where it gets particularly concerning. The life sentence reflects a legal system that cannot ignore the risk posed by someone with influence, notoriety, and a demonstrated capacity for violence. In other words, the punishment was not just for one act. It was for the potential threat posed by the combination of persona and history. The judge wanted to send a message that public figures, no matter how famous, are not exempt from accountability. For the public, this reinforces the idea that fame cannot shield someone from the law. The broader cultural impact is significant. Ninjaman's case shows how entertainment, persona, and real-world behavior collide. His lyrics glorified violence, and while many argued they were artistic expression, the court concluded that in this case, the performance reflected real-life intent and action. That connection made the case particularly bad, because it blurs the line between fiction and reality. A popular artist had allegedly used his influence and presence to carry out a serious crime. That is dangerous both for society and for the integrity of the music industry. Fans in the dancehall community reacted with disbelief, some anger and some reflection. Many realized that the consequences were unavoidable once a public figure crossed that line. The case also serves as a cautionary tale for younger artists who might idolize a persona without considering the legal and moral risks behind it. Ninjaman's life sentence is a reminder that actions, even those tied to performance or reputation, carry real lasting consequences. In short, Ninjaman was sentenced to life because the crime was premeditated, executed with intent, involved collaboration, and built on a prior pattern of violent behavior. It is bad because it highlights how influence and fame can be misused and how society must respond when entertainment spills into deadly reality. For Jamaica, the music industry, and fans worldwide, it is a stark lesson in accountability, legality, and the consequences of glorifying real-world violence. Legacy impact. Ninjaman's conviction has dramatically reshaped how people view his legacy. Once celebrated as a fearless dancehall icon, he is now remembered not just for music, but for a serious crime. The duality is impossible to ignore. Fans who once admired his energy and lyrical skill must now reconcile that with his life sentence. For some, the music lives on. For others, it's permanently tarnished. Within the industry, younger artists and collaborators have a complicated view. His style influenced a generation, but the story of his conviction is now a cautionary tale. Promoters, labels, and peers have to weigh the risk of associating with a persona whose fame ended in tragedy. It is a reminder that influence carries responsibility. Culturally, Ninjaman's case also sparks debate about separating the artist from their art. Can you appreciate the hits while condemning the crime? Opinions vary widely, and that debate will follow his name for years. His legacy is no longer just music. It's a conversation about fame, accountability, and the consequences of violence. In short, Ninjaman remains a significant figure in dancehall history, but the shadow of his conviction changes how that history is remembered. Fame and influence were not enough to shield him from accountability, and that reality now defines part of what people will associate with his name. His story is a reminder that legacy is shaped as much by actions off stage as it is by talent on stage. So, there you have it. Ninjaman went from dancehall legend to life behind bars, and now we finally know why the court hit him with the harshest sentence possible. It wasn't just one mistake. It was a pattern of violent behavior, planning, and real-world consequences tied to his persona. For fans, the industry, and society, it is a sobering reminder that fame does not protect anyone from the law. Whether you loved his music or just watched the story unfold, Ninjaman's case shows how quickly life can change when actions catch up with reputation.